Ellen DeGeneres had celebrated countless birthdays over her 65 years, but she never imagined that her most memorable one would unfold in front of millions of viewers when her studio audience orchestrated the most elaborate surprise party in daytime television history. What started as a routine Tuesday taping became an impromptu celebration that reminded Ellen why she had fallen in love with television in the first place. The magical connection between performer and audience that could transform any ordinary moment into something extraordinary. It was Ellen's 65th birthday, January 26, but she had deliberately scheduled a regular taping day, preferring to keep the milestone low-key. Ellen, wearing a classic navy blazer over light blue jeans, had specifically asked her producers not to make a big deal about her birthday during the show. She wanted to focus on her guests and segments rather than draw attention to herself, a characteristic humility that had endeared her to audiences for decades. What Ellen didn't know was that her audience coordinator, Maria Santos, had been secretly working with selected audience members for over 2 weeks to plan something special. Through social media groups and careful coordination, word had spread among Ellen's most dedicated fans about the surprise birthday celebration they were planning for their beloved host. The conspiracy had started 3 weeks earlier when longtime fan Jennifer Walsh from Oregon posted in an Ellen fan group, "Wouldn't it be amazing if we could surprise Ellen for her birthday when she thinks it's just a regular show?" The idea caught fire immediately, with fans from across the country volunteering to be part of the surprise if they were lucky enough to get tickets to a January taping. Maria, who had been working with Ellen's show for 8 years and had developed genuine affection for the host, quietly facilitated the plan. She helped coordinate which audience members would be part of the surprise and even worked with the production team to ensure certain elements could be incorporated without Ellen's knowledge. "Good morning, everybody," Ellen announced to the studio audience as the show began, her energy bright and welcoming as always. "We have a great show for you today. We're going to meet an incredible teacher who's making a difference in her community, play some games, and I have a feeling some of you are going to go home with some amazing prizes." The audience responded with their usual enthusiasm, but Ellen's trained eye noticed something slightly different about their energy. There was an undercurrent of excitement that seemed more intense than typical pre-show anticipation. Several audience members kept glancing at each other with barely contained smiles, and she could swear she saw someone quickly hide something behind their back. "You all seem particularly excited today," Ellen commented, walking closer to the audience. "Did someone spike the coffee in the lobby?" The audience laughed, but their laughter carried a secretive quality that Ellen couldn't quite place. In the front row, a woman named Carol from Minnesota was clutching a small wrapped package and trying to look casual, while behind her a group of college students from UCLA kept whispering to each other and giggling. Ellen continued with her opening monologue, discussing the latest news and sharing some observational humor about everyday life, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about today's audience. They were hanging on her every word with unusual intensity, and she noticed several people holding small items in their laps. "All right, before we bring out our first guest, let's play a quick game," Ellen announced, moving into one of her regular audience interaction segments. "I'm going to ask for volunteers to play No or Go," and Ellen called out a voice from the middle section. A woman in her 50s stood up, her face beaming with barely contained excitement. "Before we play any games, we have something we need to tell you." Ellen's eyebrows raised with curiosity and slight concern. Unscripted audience interruptions weren't entirely unusual, but something about the woman's tone suggested this wasn't a typical fan outburst. "Okay," Ellen said cautiously. "What's going on?" The woman, whose name was Patricia and who had flown in from Arizona specifically for this taping, looked around at her fellow audience members. "We all know what day it is today." Ellen felt a slight sinking sensation in her stomach. "It's Tuesday? It's January 26th, Patricia continued, her smile growing wider, "and that means it's someone very special's birthday." Ellen's expression shifted to one of mild resignation mixed with affection. "Guys, I told the producers I didn't want to make a big deal about my birthday today. This show is about all of you, not about me." But Patricia wasn't finished. "Ellen, you've been making all of us feel special for years. Today it's our turn to make you feel special." As if on cue, the entire studio audience stood up simultaneously. Ellen's eyes widened in surprise as she realized this was clearly a coordinated effort. Each person was holding something. Some had small wrapped packages, others had handmade signs, and many were wearing matching t-shirts that read Ellen's Birthday Squad. "Oh my God," Ellen breathed, her hand moving to her heart. "What did you all do?" From the back of the studio, a man named David from Texas called out, "Ellen, you've surprised so many people over the years. You've changed lives, brought families together, and made people's dreams come true. Today we wanted to give back to you." Ellen felt tears beginning to form in her eyes as she took in the sight of 400 people, all standing and smiling at her with genuine love and appreciation. "How did you all coordinate this? How did you even know it was my birthday?" "Social media is a beautiful thing when it's used for good," called out a young woman named Ashley from the front row. "We've been planning this for weeks." Carol from Minnesota stepped forward, still clutching her small package. "Ellen, each one of us brought you something small, but together they represent how much you mean to all of us." Ellen walked over to Carol, her composure beginning to crack as the full weight of what her audience had done settled over her. "Carol, you didn't have to bring me anything." "Yes, we did," Carol replied firmly. "You give to others every single day. Today we give to you." Ellen accepted the small wrapped package and opened it carefully. Inside was a hand-knitted bookmark with "Be Kind" embroidered in rainbow letters. "Carol, did you make this?" "I did. I've been knitting since I was 7 years old, and I wanted to make something that represented what you've taught all of us." Ellen held up the bookmark for the cameras to see, her voice thick with emotion. "This is beautiful. Thank you so much." But Carol shook her head. "Ellen, that's just the beginning." As if responding to a silent signal, audience members throughout the studio began approaching the stage area, each carrying their small gifts. Ellen found herself surrounded by people offering handmade cards, small crafts, photographs, and heartfelt letters. "This is from my daughter," said a woman named Rosa, handing Ellen a child's drawing of 2 stick figures labeled "Ellen and Me," surrounded by hearts. "She's 8 years old, and she drew this after watching you surprise that teacher last month. She said she wanted Ellen to know that she makes her happy." Ellen studied the drawing with tears streaming down her face. "Rosa, please tell your daughter that this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever received." A teenage boy named Marcus approached next, carrying a small photo album. "Ellen, this contains pictures of all the times my family has watched your show together. My grandmother is 94, and watching your show is the one thing that always makes her laugh. These pictures show 4 generations of my family watching you together." Ellen flipped through the album, seeing images of Marcus's large extended family gathered around televisions, all smiling and laughing. In several photos, an elderly woman was clapping her hands with delight. "Marcus, your grandmother looks like an amazing woman." "She is. And she made me promise to tell you that you've brought more joy to our family than you'll ever know." The gifts kept coming. A retired teacher gave Ellen a handmade lesson plan titled "How to Spread Kindness," complete with daily activities and reflection questions. A group of college friends presented her with a scrapbook filled with quotes from her show that had helped them through difficult times. A military veteran handed her a small American flag pin, explaining that watching her show during his deployment had reminded him of the good he was fighting for. Ellen was openly crying now, overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness and love evident in each gift. "I can't believe you all did this. I can't believe you took the time to make these beautiful things for me." Ellen called out Jennifer Walsh, the Oregon fan who had originally suggested the surprise. "We're not done yet." Jennifer gestured to someone in the production booth, and suddenly the studio's large screens lit up with a video that began playing. Ellen turned to watch, gasping as she saw her own face fill the screen. But it was Ellen from 20 years ago, during her early days of daytime television. "What is this?" Ellen asked, wiping her eyes. "It's a compilation of moments over the years when you've surprised other people," explained Jennifer. "But we edited it to show how those surprises changed lives." The video showed clips of Ellen surprising teachers, military families, healthcare workers, and everyday heroes. But each clip was followed by update footage or interviews, showing how those moments had impacted the recipients long term. Teachers who had received classroom supplies talked about the students they'd been able to help. Families who had received home makeovers showed how their lives had been transformed. Healthcare workers who had been honored spoke about how the recognition had renewed their passion for their work. Ellen watched in amazement as the video revealed the ripple effects of her kindness over the decades. "I had no idea that some of these people stayed in touch with the show. We reached out to dozens of people you've helped over the years," said Ashley. "They all wanted to be part of this surprise because you've been part of their lives for so long." As the video concluded, the entire audience began singing "Happy Birthday" in perfect unison. Ellen stood in the center of the stage, surrounded by hundreds of people who had coordinated across time zones and state lines just to celebrate her. When the song ended, Ellen took a moment to compose herself before addressing the audience. "I have been in television for a long time, and I have experienced a lot of beautiful moments, but this is extraordinary." She looked around at all the faces surrounding her, each one beaming with love and appreciation. "You know, people often ask me what the best part of doing this show is. They think it might be the celebrities or the big surprises or the dancing, but it's this. It's you. It's the connection we have, the way we can make each other feel seen and valued." Ellen paused, struggling with her emotions. "I started this show because I wanted to make people's days a little brighter. What I never expected was how much brighter you would make my days." She turned to address the cameras directly. "I want everyone watching at home to see what just happened here. 400 people who don't know each other came together to do something kind for someone they care about. They spent their time and energy and creativity to make someone else feel special. That's the world I want to live in." Looking back at her audience, Ellen continued, "This surprise means more to me than you'll ever know. Not just because of the gifts, which are all beautiful and thoughtful, but because of what it represents. It represents the idea that kindness is contagious, that love multiplies when we share it, and that we all have the power to make each other's lives better." Maria, the audience coordinator who had helped facilitate the surprise, stepped forward with a microphone. "Ellen, there's one more thing." Ellen laughed through her tears. "I don't think my heart can handle one more thing." "Trust us," Maria said with a grin. "We saved the best for last." The studio doors opened, and Ellen's wife Portia walked in, carrying a large birthday cake, decorated with rainbow frosting and 65 candles. The audience erupted in cheers as Portia made her way to the stage. "Did you know about this?" Ellen asked Portia as they embraced. "I may have been consulted on the planning," Portia admitted with a smile. "These fans of yours are very thorough." Ellen looked out at her audience one more time, taking in the sight of 400 people who had given her the most meaningful birthday celebration of her life. "I don't have words for how grateful I am. I don't have words for how loved you've made me feel." She paused, then smiled through her tears. "But I do have one thing to say. If we're going to have cake, we're all having cake together." The production team quickly arranged for cake to be distributed throughout the studio, and what followed was an impromptu birthday party unlike anything in daytime television history. Ellen spent the remainder of the show walking through the audience, personally thanking each person for their gift and their participation in the surprise. The episode, which aired exactly as it had unfolded, became one of the most watched and most shared in Ellen's show's history. But more than that, it became a symbol of the genuine connection that could exist between a television host and her audience. In the months that followed, Ellen kept every single gift she had received that day. The bookmark from Carol became her daily reading companion. Marcus's photo album sat on her desk at home. Rosa's daughter's drawing was framed in her dressing room. That day taught me something I had forgotten. Ellen reflected weeks later. It reminded me that television at its best isn't about entertainment, it's about connection. It's about the relationships we build with people we may never meet in person, but who become part of our extended family. The audience members who had participated in the surprise stayed in touch with each other, forming friendships that extended far beyond their shared love of Ellen's show. Many of them organized local kindness initiatives in their own communities, inspired by the experience of coming together to do something good. What happened that day wasn't really about my birthday, Ellen said during a later interview. It was about the power of people to surprise each other with kindness, to go out of their way to make someone feel special, and to prove that in a world that can often feel divided, we can still come together around love and appreciation. Because sometimes the most beautiful surprises come not from elaborate planning or expensive gifts, but from the simple decision of people to show someone they care. And sometimes the greatest gift isn't what's in the wrapping paper, but the love and thought that inspired someone to give it in the first place.